Sega was a juggernaut back in the day. In fact, Sega has been in the hardware game for over 60 years, as they started making slot machines back in '64. Of course, 1983 they started making video game home consoles. The last piece of hardware Sega ever made was the Dreamcast. Okay, there's been a few educational toys like the Pico Bina in '05, and of course the Genesis Mega Drive Mini in 2019, and the Micro Game Gear in 2020, and the Genesis Mega Drive Mini 2 in 2022. Okay, well, I guess they haven't been out of hardware as long as people think they have, but anyways, this is the latest actual piece of hardware they have made, called the Emojam. And it is taking the, well, not internet by storm, but there have been a great deal of ads and Amazon listings raving about this little handheld, so Sega sent us one, and we're going to check it out. Thank you to Sega for sending us this sample. Well, so far this is looking very kind of young demographic-y, because it doesn't look like what we're used to in terms of Dreamcast VMU or a PlayStation Pocket, for example. Put those on the screen. This is more like, wow, you're a teen/younger child getting into sending text messages. Well, you like emojis? There's 1,400 emojis for you. But Sega was nice enough to send this to us either way, so we're just gonna check it out. Incredibly bubbly packaging. It just looks like a pack of bubblegum exploded, and it looks like you do have some sort of Wi-Fi communication, whether that is everyone on the same network or you just simply utilize Wi-Fi to connect to other places around. We'll have to kind of look at that. But you have some rhythm games, you have some different emoji labs, and all sorts of stuff on here. I hope this is extensive when it comes to the functionality of it, because it's looking like it's not the cheapest thing on the block, coming in at around $70. And I hope it's not a one-trick pony, honestly. Now, a lot of these are going to be in Japanese, of course, so we are going to throw some translations on screen if need be, like this one, for example. So this one is saying, for parents that wish to relax, please make your Emojam experience more enjoyable. Connect Wi-Fi for your child. So that's it's kind of like that old Nintendo commercial where they say, Nintendo Entertainment System, your parents help you hook it up. And, well, was something that has lived in my brain rent-free for decades now. You have a user manual here, and this is just going to give you some light information and regulatory information, so we'll put that off to the side. And yes, USB-C. Okay, I was afraid it was going to be something else. Now, it's not proprietary, and no, it's not a micro USB, which is really good. Wow, that is in there. Oh, man. That's in the plastic, all right. Wow. All right. There was no wiggle room. Now, where are we made here? Made in China, okay, Emojam. And it looks like, wow, you got some pins at the bottom. I wonder what these pogo pins are for. I have no idea. DC? Oh, okay, yeah, charger, direct current. Okay, it made it sound like there was some huge adapter that needed to go along with it, like those old Genesis brick adapters that hung on the wall and simply just fell out. Okay, I'm glad this doesn't need batteries, you know what I mean, like CR2032s or anything like that. And look at that, you have a little star burst for the Wi-Fi reception. And man, I'll tell you, Japanese products love these lanyard strap things. This doesn't come with it. This just so happened to be there. Seriously, that was kind of weird. And what you would do is you would grab a strap and put it in one side, and it would come out the other side like that, and then you loop it around. Lots of people like putting charms and stuff like that. I wonder if this just has batteries straight up, but let's look at it first. You have a rainbow holographic mirror finish on the front with a recessed screen and a nice kind of beveled edge around the bezel. You have a button up top, nothing on the left, just charger on the right. Does that pop open or something? No, that's just for getting access to that. Plastic all around, and 3 pretty prominent pogo pins with some height differences between the actual pins itself, and they move too. They're almost like they're on spring loaded for some reason, and 3 main buttons on the bottom. So let's power it on. This is not supposed to be easily maneuverable because it basically has 3 buttons on the bottom and a back button. So just be warned, everything you do is actually pretty hard to work around, and we'll show you just a couple examples. So if you go to something like emoji, you have different modes, you have how-tos, all that stuff. You even have AI modes on here. So what you would do is you would click on something like this, and then you would get a selector of all these different emojis. So you choose your category, so smiley faces, happy faces, friends hugging, cats and dogs and cows and stuff like that, and you would click OK on something to go down the road into something else below. And every single time you move, you can change this in the settings, it has this kind of magic sparkle noise you can hear. Gets a little bit intrusive at times, but what you would do is you would choose something like a bunny or something, and then choose a hamster, and then choose a penguin. Now, it's not very intuitive as to how to do anything else in terms of how you erase things and stuff like that. It says erase the emoji right here, and you would have to do a long press, in which case it takes a very long time. You saw that, so if I press it, let's count how many seconds it takes. 1, 2, 3, 4. About 4 seconds to do a backspace, which is pretty intense actually if you're just trying to fire something off. Now, there doesn't seem to be much text input in the way of how to kind of go about texting people. There just seems to be a lot of emojis. I mean, hence the inherent nature of this unit. Now, there are a lot of them, and you can't really cycle through them any faster than this. It just takes a long time. Once you are in the secondary area here, you can long press that, in which case it takes about 3 or 4 seconds again, and that will slide through everything, but it doesn't go page by page. It hits the end of each respective block. So the UI maneuverability, it definitely does need some work, because this is incredibly difficult to use in terms of motion and basically just doing anything on it. Any sort of quote-unquote text input is kind of aggravating. I mean, again, it's meant to be this Tamagotchi style unit that you're not really supposed to live and die by, so in that regard it's fine, but you know, if you had to use it, I mean, it's pretty difficult. You have things like your friends list here, and you have My Room. So you would click on that and you can go to My Room. You can check out your schedule, your catalog, all that type of stuff. If you go to My Room, you can start decorating your room utilizing the emojis on the unit itself. So you can change the way your character looks, you can change their hair, their accessories, all that stuff. And you have some light data points here, your birth month, your birthday, etc. So it goes back to that kind of Tamagotchi style experience where you can customize your pet, so to speak. Really, it's an interpretation of who you are. And you even have a calendar, which again, if you have to click on something, there's a lot of work you'd have to do to kind of get your message across. So if you have to do shopping that day, you click shopping, and from there you can actually change the different kind of what to do's on that day. So it's like we said at the top of the hour, it's hieroglyphics. This is old school and new. This is old school meets new school. It's old school in the fact that you're chiseling shapes on the pyramid walls, but at the same point utilizing Wi-Fi to convey your message to others. You also have some mini games. You have the little poo mini game. You have this one about avatars. So if you just choose one, for example, you can go in and just kind of start it up, and away you go. I didn't know what that big fluffy dog was, so I actually missed it. But they have a decent amount of minigames, actually, surprisingly, on here, and each respective game has its own kind of modes alongside it too. Now finally, we're going to go back to the settings, and that is at the very home menu at the very front. Now, it's not very intuitive that when you press this top button, there's nothing telling you how far back you go. It is a back button, the button at the top, but overall there's no real guideline or progress bar like there was during the text input that tells you how long you need to press. So this is how bright your screen is to be. you can go over here, you have your sound, you have your clock, and you have your thematic design. This is where you can choose your backgrounds. This is where you can choose the kind of UI elements to show what they're going to show. We're just going to leave it as kind of normal because there's not much there. And then you have your control center where you can delete things like your games, your data, etc. We're not going to mess with any of that, but that's pretty much it. You can password protect your unit as well, so you can insert a quick kind of passkey 3-banger, and that would prevent anyone from getting into your Sega Jam device. This is pretty much the whole thing from start to finish. What do we think about the Emojam? Well, honestly, it's pretty cool. All the UI shortcomings and navigation hiccups aside, this is a fun and bubbly little unit that gives you a first step inherent processes that a lot of kids look for when it comes to communicating with their friends, making things their own, and just getting into technology to whatever degree. It has enough on there that it doesn't really get boring. Some people like ourselves, of course, that utilize smartphones on a daily basis feel very throttled by using something like this, but this isn't meant to replace anything. That's not what it is. It's just a nice change of pace style device, and we thank Sega for sending us the sample. If you are interested in grabbing one of these, details are down below. As we are not a distributor of theirs or anything like that, you'll have to buy one from whatever link we put. Thank you for watching.